Okay, I'm wearing this not because I'm cold. It's just this shirt actually was from a job I used to work at, and I'd rather try and at least keep something secret. Anyway, let me get a little closer here. I really am kind of annoyed by this actually. I didn't I wanted to make this video a little bit different, and I might touch on that a little bit, or kind of how I wanted, but Riley, why Riley, why? I already did a video on suicide. And I'll be honest with you, he only gets two things. No, he gets one article I found, and then I think another one that I didn't. That's about it. But other than that, I already kind of. I just wanted to bring attention to it though. It was something I actually did. Or something I actually did want to bring attention to. I'm sorry. Um, but anyway, so let's look into this. White males account for 7 out of 10 suicides. Suicides in 2016. The rates of suicide are the highest in the middle-aged white men in particular. Okay, so firearms account for 51%. The average, there are 123 suicides per day. Rate is 13.42% out of 100,000. Can't talk, guys. Sorry. It's actually really late. It's like 6:11 in the morning. And I was actually doing some other research, and then I found all that. So, anyway, I was actually learning. I'm trying to learn how to create games and all that. But anyway, I'm gonna just touch on this, and I'm gonna get to his video because it's gonna kind of help me make my case. And is there more? I'm not gonna. Okay, yeah, I'm not gonna go through all that. So, the Indian Journal of Psychiatry, suicide in women. Now, let's see. I'm gonna go down into it. Let's see. ADI was used to categorize countries low. Okay, so no, that wasn't it. Where is it? Okay, so men and women differ in their responsibilities. Okay, so it talks about why it says men mostly because, like, we feel like we're losing our power or something like that. I don't know. I can't say. These socially constructed differences interact with biological differences, contribute to differences in their social suicidal behavior. More is known about differences in males and females in conditions like depression and schizophrenia than suicide. But it just goes on. Where is it? One of the most consistent findings in suicide research is that women make more suicide attempts than men, but men are more likely to die to their attempts than women. Despite this, remarkably few studies have focused upon suicidal behavior in women or attempted to explore the complex relationships between gender and suicidal behavior. That is something that they should actually try and cover. One reason for the lack of investment in female suicide behavior may be that, keep in mind, may be that there has been a tendency to view suicidal behavior in women as manipulative and non-serious. Okay, see, I can call that bullshit. I don't know if that's the reason, but I'm just saying they really should look into it. Evidence in attaining lethality and hospitalization describe their attempts as unsuccessful, failed, or attention-seeking, and generally to imply that women's suicidal behavior is inept or incompetent. The lack of investment in women's suicidal behavior may also, keep in mind again, may also, the reason I'm reading both these because I didn't want that one to be taken and then try to be used, as a way of saying, oh, this is it, and this part ignored. The rise from global focus on the mortality of suicidal behavior dominated by male deaths in all countries except China. So it could just be they're looking into it for the men. 2 to 4 times the rate of women. What is it? In most countries, men die by suicide 2 to 4 times the rate of women. Okay, so women, we already know women attempted more than men, but men to succeed more. Succeed more. Suicide just goes on. Keep in mind, this 2015. In 2015, blah. Gender disparities. Males take their own lives nearly 4 times the rate of females and represent 77.9% of all suicides. Females are more likely than males to have suicidal thoughts. Firearms are the most commonly used method of suicide among males. Okay, poisoning is the most common method of suicide for females, 34%. So again, this is just something I want to bring up. Nothing too much, because I already covered this before. But I want to talk about this. Sorry. Here we go. Talking about suicide among trans people. The population overall, this is non-trans people, is 4.6%. Lifetime attempted suicide rates for people who are trans, 40%. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind. For trans people, the overall the amount of them to try and commit suicide is 40%. Now, he does quote a study from 1999, and he openly admits to this, so I'm not bashing that. But however, here's the sources. Europeseasjournal.com. This right here is edu, which is something I would use anyway, I admit. Huffington Post, I don't quite know. I personally wouldn't try not to use it. The telethon kit, sorry, blah. The trans advocate, I'm gonna look, I already have one to that one just because to be fair. Online library, wiley.com, I don't know what the hell. JSM, JS, something.org. Okay, see, here we go, .org. Link Springer, Liberpub, whatever. Tranquility.org. Okay, this is probably stuff to help you out. .org, Times Magazine. The NCBI, this is one of the ones I was actually using if I remember correctly. Let me click on it just to be safe. Okay, so yeah, results, response. Okay. Response 13% reported lifetime ideation. Okay, so I think this is the one he was talking about. Yeah, 1999. Okay, so this is what he's talking about. Unbiased source. I got no problem. This is what I go for myself. And I think that's actually one he found that I didn't. So, U.S. transgender survey found that 40% of trans people have attempted suicide compared to 4.6. Okay, so this right here, National Transgender Discrimination Survey reported by the on health and healthcare. So the key healthcare findings: discrimination 20% of inability to afford it. Okay, so this is injured. Hold on. To very high levels of postponing medical care when sick or injured due to discrimination, 28%, or inability to afford it. Okay. So first of all, they shouldn't be discriminated against. 100% agree. You got my support, Riley, right there. They should not be discriminated against. 100%, I agree. The inability for them to afford it, though, that shouldn't be on the company because at the end of your video, you talk about how companies should pay for it and all this other stuff. No, they should not. That is something that person should deal with. I realize to you that might sound pretty bad. However, it is not. That is something with them they have to live with, not the company. All right, I'm ADD, ADHD, whatever you want to call it. I don't think my company should have to pay for my meds so I can focus better. That's on me. I don't buy it because fuck it. Admittedly, it's expensive, but I just knuckle down and do what I can. But that's on me. That's not something they should, a company should have to pay for. Harassment and violence in medical settings. I don't know there. 20% respondents were subject to harassment in medical settings, and 22% were victims of violence in doctor's office. Okay, so what was the violence? Because I remember right. If I remember last time you were talking about how misgendering someone is pretty much an act of violence. So I'm wondering, were they just misgendered as in you went in there and they called you a guy because you fucking look like a dude? Everything about you says man because pretty much you're a dude except for how thin you are, the length of your hair, and your voice seems to be changing. It's definitely different than what it used to be. And it's kind of weird that last time you said you had a cold and it hasn't changed since that time. Whatever though. Despite the barriers, the majority of the survey participants have access to some form of transition-related medical care. Okay, so that's okay. Respondents reported over 4 times the national average of HIV infection. This is true. This is something the CDC has actually talked about. So this person that to me that gives at least some of this more credibility. The whole violent one, I don't know, but maybe in the waiting room people were harassing them, which they shouldn't do. I agree 100%. Infection at 2.64% of our sample compared to 0.6% of the general population, with rates of for transgender women at 3.76, and with those who are unemployed, 4.67% who have engaged in sex work, 15.32% even higher. Over a quarter of the respondents misuse drugs or alcohol. See, again, that's like, I don't sit there, I don't feel bad for a homeless guy who I'm not going to give money to because he only wants to buy beer. I mean, I used to give money when I was a kid, and he always fucking got drunk off it. I'm not going to feel bad because someone, oh, my life is hard. I'm going to go get drunk and use drugs. I can't. I'm sorry. I don't really feel bad for that. A staggering 41% of respondents reported attempting suicide compared to the 1.6% of the general population. Okay, so it's 41%, not the 40%, but whatever. We'll round it and say 40%. Okay, so let's get past that. Here we are. I admit this right here is a .org study. However, it was done in Sweden and it was done in 2011. Where is it? 2011. Okay. Okay, I guess 2003. So it's probably published in 2011. Okay, but anyway, let's get on to it. Keep in mind, this is at least a little more up to date than 1999. And Sweden is a fairly feminist country. If you look at what they did with Battlefield 5. Yeah, I'm still mad about that. Fucked it up. But Battlefield 5, because why? They want to be more progressive and all that stuff. Okay, fine, whatever. It's their game, it's their country. If they want to do it, it's their company, fine. But I'm not paying for that shit. And other people who don't pay for it, fine. If the game makes it, okay, I was wrong. If the game doesn't make it, I don't want to sit there and be called sexist because I'm mad about something that didn't happen in the war. Women didn't fight in the front line, at least not in America or British. And if you had any injury, you weren't allowed to, well, if you had any major injury, you weren't allowed to fight. A woman with having a prosthetic arm would be a major injury. Anyway, so sexually assigned persons also had an increased risk of suicide attempts. 4.9, 95% CL, 2.9, 8.5 in psychiatric inpatient care. 2.8, 95%. Comparison with controls matched the reassigned sex yielded similar results. Female to males, but not male to females, had a higher risk for criminal convictions than their respective birth sex controls. And let's see, what was it? Confidence intervals and hazardous ratios. So, okay, so hazard ratio is 19.1, 95%. Okay, and then the confidence intervals, 62, I assume. 62.9%, I guess. I don't know. There's no percentage thing. But anyway, either way, right here, sexually assigned person also had an increased risk of suicide attempts. And the whole thing is, oh, because of the way they were treated. So let's see. Yeah. That's the one I want to get to. No, let's skip that one for now. We're gonna go to this one. Blah blah blah. Of course, and doctors or healthcare providers refuse to treat them. 60%. Experienced discrimination or harassment at work. 50 to 59%. Harassed or bullied at school. 50 to 54%. Okay, see again. Bullied. I 100% agree. That should be taken care of. Really, 100%. I back that. Oh, family chose not to speak to him. 57% discrimination, victimization, of violence at school. Okay. Again, this is important. Let's see. Suffered physical or sexual violence at work. 64 to 65%. At school, any level. 63 to 78%. Discrimination, victimization, of violence by law enforcement. Disrespected or harassed by law enforcement officers. 57 to 61%. What the fuck? Okay, so I'm hoping this is just no, I guess I don't know. I guess the overall percentage. Okay, yeah, the overall percentage of how many went through this apparently, and it's very possible to experience more than one of these. So I don't want someone to try and take that out of context. Oh well, how would they have 59 and 60%? And what it's possible to have more than one. Let's see. Responsible who are HIV positive, responding to disabilities. The key findings of the report include the following. Suicide attempts among trans men, 46%, and trans women, 42%, were slightly higher than the full sample. 41 cross-dressers assigned male at birth have the lowest reported prevalence of suicide attempts among gender identity groups, 21%. So people who they're still considered a gender identity group, but 21% of them versus the, let's say, 46 to 41%. Analysts of another demographic variables found the prevalence of suicide attempts was highest among those who are younger, 18 to 24, 45%. Multiracial, 54, and American Indian or Alaska Native, 56. Have a lower levels of educational attainment, high school or less, 48 to 49%, and have lower annual household income, less than 10,000, damn, 54%. Prevalence of suicide attempts is elevated among those who disclose to everyone that they are transgender or gender nonconforming, 50%, and among the whatever, okay, among those that report the others can't tell always, 42%. Among those that report others can tell that they're always tell that they are trans, 42% of those people commit suicide. The most of the time, 45%, that they are transgender or gender nonconforming even if they don't tell them. So 42, I'll be nice. Let's keep it at, I'm not actually gonna be nice. I'm not, because I already know I'm gonna be labeled a transphobe. So obviously you're not gonna be nice because in your video you say transphobes, blah blah blah. So 45% of people who either 45% of trans people pretty much now will commit suicide. Respondents who are HIV positive, 51%. Respondents who have disabilities, 55, 65%. Okay, so here's the other thing. People who are not trans have HIV. People who are not trans have disabilities. Among the group, you can get a group of whatever, of anyone who's cis, and their numbers are not going to be this high. But still, we'll stick with the 55. We'll stick with the 45%. Even though they have the highest number of people infected with AIDS, I could still easily say the 50%. Or disabilities, I guess, because if you can't identify as the gender you claim to be, you can't, or if you can't become the gender you see yourself as, I would imagine that in some ways you would consider a disability. You're stuck in something you consider stuck in a body you don't consider yours. Let's see. There's other stuff. Blah blah blah. Where is it? Yeah, I'd cover this in some other one. Okay. And just that's a recap base. Suicide attempts were reported by a higher percentage of those who said people can always tell, 42, and the most of the time, 45%. They are transgender or gender nonconforming. So 45% of the people who are of trans people who can be caught or who don't pass, 45% commit suicide. Suicide of inmates in Nazi Soviet concentration camps. Historical overview and critique. Let's see. Many prisoners committed living conditions of the concentration camps were harsh and often inhumane, leading to many prisoners to commit suicide. We have reviewed this topic in Nazi concentration camps, Soviet special camps, and gulags provided the same preliminary data for our research. Data shows that incidence of suicide in Nazi KL could be up to 30 times higher than the general population. 30 times higher than the general population. What was it again? 40%. Oh, no, that's okay. Wait, I think I just stuck my own foot in my mouth. I admit. Yeah, okay, 30 times higher. Oh shit. Should I just bust out my calculator on that one? 4.6. Alright, I'll tell you what. I'm just gonna do it just because. You know why? In the name of being accurate. Like I said, I just wing this stuff. So let's say, oh, it's 4 point. Okay. Okay. So puts it actually at about 30% anyway. I just 4.6 divided or multiplied by 30 because 30 times higher, and then 4.6 divided by, all that. So or how many? Yeah, how many? There, it was like 130 something, 100 whatever. I just did it into that to say how much. Still came up to 30%. So let's just keep it. Yeah, I mean, I could be wrong. Like I said, it's really late. I've been up all day and all night, so mainly I'm just kind of poof. But anyway, let's just go with 30%, 40%. That's still higher than the average. You're telling me that trans people have it worse than people in the Nazi and Soviet concentration camps? I somehow doubt it. But let's look into this one. Prevalence of risk factors for lifetime suicide attempts for National Conformity Survey. Oh, okay, this is actually the one you gave me, huh? I did it twice. All right. From addition to Plan 72 from Plan Attempt 26. Okay, so yeah. So I already covered this one. I already showed that one. I apologize. Anyway, let's see. Increased risk of attempted suicide among Asian Holocaust survivors. Suicide rates are higher in elderly persons than in those in other phases of their life cycle. The majority of World War II veterans and Holocaust survivors still define their war experience as being the most significant stressor of their lives. Aging the survivors is frequently associated with depression, reactivation of the traumatic syndromes, physical disorders, loss of psychological distress, possibly increasing the risk of suicide. The aim of the present study was to investigate among the large cohort of elderly Holocaust survivors. Okay, so let's just go into it. Results of 921 eligible patients, 374 were Holocaust survivors, 135, 14.6% had attempted suicide rate. Suicide in the month before admission, 90 Holocaust survivors, 24% had attempted suicide versus 45 of 502 patients, 8.2% with no World War II experience. The risk of attempting suicide among Holocaust survivors was significantly increased. Although these findings are from a highly selectable sample, we suggest that aging Holocaust survivors had increased risk of attempting suicide. The growth of the elderly population, of whom many had traumatic life experiences, emphasizes the need to implement preventive strategies that suicide risk may be contained. I don't know why I said need the way I did, but either way. So, Holocaust survivors, 24% had attempted suicide rates. So, let's pretend my math is wrong. At least according to this, from when was this? 2005. That's okay. So for 2005, 24% of Holocaust survivors, elderly Holocaust survivors, people living with PTSD, people who were there who experienced those concentration camps, the ones who didn't join. I don't know. Okay, so the ones who didn't join this, let's say 30% here, 24% of them made it to their old age. Keep in mind, this is just the ones who actually did do it. And they're saying here it could be up to, as in that's the highest. Oh, okay. Population was also much higher than in Soviet special camps. So even then, that was the highest. 30% people who did do it, and then 24% at least attempted who survived living with that PTSD. Versus 40% of people who get bullied. I've been bullied. People who can't become the gender they identify with. Versus people being called names, which again, you can call that bullying, but I've been called names. This is nothing. So, before I just seemed like a complete ass who wanted to shut something like this down. Again, my main thing is companies should not have to pay for that. Should not have to pay for someone's, transition. Let's see, higher active suicide, transition related care. Where is this? Go down. Let's see. Oh, right here. Oh, this one. What the is conversion therapy? Oh, wait. I'm sorry. The only alternatives that I've seen promoted by transphobes across the internet is conversion therapy, a practice that has been widely condemned as and is akin to torture or child abuse. I can't speak for torture, but I've been abused as a kid. And conversion therapy, from what I've seen, is more like that pray the gay away type shit. So I can't say I agree with it, but It's not akin to child abuse, trust me. You do not know what the fuck you're talking about. I suggest you shut the fuck up on that one. Because on that part, I will not go easy. As someone who's been through that as a child, I will not let up. I promise that one. Yeah, there are unfortunately many people who would put trans people in conversion therapy, but the only results more dead trans people. Well, they're already at 40%. Again, Holocaust survivors aren't even that high. I mean, and you're sitting there acting like people, oh, we think they were broken. Well, sadly, yes, you might be. No, that's just to piss you off. I just want to say that to piss you off. A few years ago, a 17-year-old, okay, see that right there is bad. I don't agree with that. That shouldn't have happened. Okay, that's one individual, admittedly, but that still shouldn't have happened. I mean, I don't know why a parent would do that, but okay, fine, okay, yeah, that's not good. But it's still, I wouldn't call that abuse. I wouldn't call it abuse. There's been plenty of girls who committed suicide because they don't like the way their parents parent. And sometimes it's the dumbest things, like a concert, not going to a concert or whatever. That's not abuse. To them, they might feel like bad parents, cause like, oh, if only we didn't, or only if we let her go to that concert, kind of deal, whatever. But still, bad. It shouldn't have happened. I agree. Uh, okay, see, but at least that's right there is different. Trans people are hating themselves. Okay, fine. Let's see. There are scientifically proven ways to reducing trans attempted suicide rate. Here's the thing, and before I'm just gonna get this. Here's my idea. My idea would be, and I think I said this before, you get someone who wants to go to the conversion therapy, who wants to become a man who wants to be a woman who wants to be a man, whatever, and you send them to therapy. Not to talk them out of it, not to try and get them not to get pray the trans away or anything like that. Just get them to go there and see if they're mentally stable enough to handle that. And that's it. Now keep in mind, your whole thing is before you buy a gun, you should have to pass some kind of a mental health check. Okay, fine. If I should have to go get a mental health check for my constitutional right, you should have to get a mental health check for something that's not in the Constitution, for something that you openly already admitted has a higher rate of suicide than anything else. Actually, I say you unknowingly admitted that trans people commit suicide more than Holocaust survivors, more than people who were actually in a Nazi concentration camp. So, therefore, I think, yes, it's more reasonable to say that yes. And then let's see, things better, save lives, also discussion around the topic. MacG's translators bring up a 2011 study. Okay, so what, from Sweden, they found that some trans women who had GRS actually had higher rates of suicide afterwards. Oh, okay, so that might have been. Okay, so hey, that might have been the one I was talking about. Okay, cool. But you didn't link it. And I admit that was .org, but again, Sweden's pretty left-leaning. Are you telling me that Sweden, a left-leaning country, is transphobic? You know, the game, again, Sweden, the big-time pro-feminist country. They're so pro-feminist, this pro-woman, so pro-women. They said, if you don't like the game, the fact that we have a woman on the cover of our game, don't buy it. Is that the one you're talking about? But even then, okay, fine. You know what? If you want, I'll give you that study. Fine, I'll toss that study right out the window. Explain the fact that trans people commit suicide at higher rates than people who survived, the Holocaust. But the study's author has repeatedly debunked this claim and given a bunch of reasons to why. Okay, so where was it? I didn't see the link. Maybe it was in there. I just didn't see it. Because while medical transition can, okay, from abusing or harassing you, because medical transition can alleviate the body dysphoria and it cannot prevent other people from abusing or harassing. Okay, discriminating against trans people. Okay, that's true. Just because you go through surgery won't stop people. So, in the end of the day, is generally you want to lower attempted suicide rate for trans people. You need to do two things: fight for improved societal acceptance of trans. Well, you're not helping out with that. I'll tell you that right now. People and fight for accessible transition-related care. How do you suppose people do that? Oh, you don't know. I was already getting to that. I'm sorry. Again, mental health check. Make sure. Because whether or not, let's, again, we're going to toss out the 2011 study, explain this somehow more suicidal than Holocaust survivors. And you know what? I got to quit saying that. I keep saying that. It's like a fucking broken record. But anyway, it's the point is there. 30%, all right, no, I'm sorry, those are the ones who did do it. 24% attempted, 40% attempted. Why is it the people who experienced a pretty bad situation, I mean horrible, seeing babies get tossed in the air and used as target practice, have lower rates than the person who says, oh, I don't feel like I was born in the right, gendered body? That doesn't make any goddamn sense. There is something definitely wrong. What? I don't know. First world problems, I guess. I couldn't tell you there. But either way, so that. Then the surgery. If they say, hey, look, this person's checks out, cool. Then the surgery. From that, they go back or help. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Before that, before the surgery itself, have them cross dress. And that may sound kind of weird, but let's be honest. It's not like in Saints Row, you just walk into a building, the medical building, and come out, you look exactly like a woman. It takes time. Several surgeries have to be done. So, cross dress. Can you handle these looks that these people give you? And like I said, maybe like one therapy, and maybe they can, maybe you can make where the insurance company helps out with the therapy, like once a week. So for like a month, that's like what 3, 4 appointments. They go in, they do their therapy. Okay, so we don't have much to go on. Keep again. I don't want to make it too long. Way I'm saying a month because obviously you don't want to procrastinate that long if someone really has it, if someone really does need this. They do this cross dressing. They go in for another month. Okay, so how did you handle those looks? Were you able to handle that? Can you handle? Will you be able to handle that as you go undergo your therapy or your transition? If you lie to a therapist, odds are that hopefully they'll be able to catch on to that. I'm afraid this person won't be able to handle it. He or she says they can, but they can't. I have to worry about this person's life. Okay, this maybe not for this person. Or yes, this person can handle it. Therefore, I suggest we go through with it. Okay, something like that. Then afterwards, or maybe every so often during the therapy, like maybe like once a month, they go in there, just talk it out, and then after they completed the transition, then they go in, let's say for another month, just to make sure everything's okay. Or just 1 week out of every week, once a week for a month. Then they go in. Okay, yeah, this person checks out. We're cool. They're good. Something like that. And I'm saying maybe on the after one because once they're done, it's done. Denying trans people. First of all, you're not denying them. If they can't afford it, they can't afford it. A doctor shouldn't have to do that shit for free. I'm sorry, they shouldn't. That is a lot of work for nothing, not to make any money. And I realize, oh, people's lives versus money. No, that's not the reason. That is a lot of work. A doctor still has to pay his bills. He still has to support his family. He still has to support himself. It's about taking care of. It's one person's life versus another guy's entire family, or even if it's just that doctor. It's oh well, this guy's life versus this guy's life. Can't do it. That's kind of a tough call right there. Oh shit, nah. Companies, let's see. Science says the solution is more social, societal acceptance and more accessible medical care. Well, where's the science? Everything you have is .orgs and so on. Like I said, I admitted the other one's a .org. So I pointed out it was .org. Why? Because I don't want people to sit there and act like that's an unbiased source. I point my shit out very clear. If you care about trans people, this is how we move forward. No, I don't agree with your method. I care about trans people. I would never date one. I I'm not into men, and get over it. I already did a video as to why trans women are not real men or real women. And it's more than just biology. There's also the striped skin from the X and Y chromosomes, and it's impossible for men to have striped skin. And no, it didn't take you that long, or it probably did. I don't know. But your research, I mean, oh, it's a lot harder for me to find unbiased sources. It really is because I can't cherry pick what the damn unbiased source says. I can go to Breitbart and have them talk about how oh yeah, trans people don't know this, and they're have where they say some really rude, fucked up shit. That doesn't mean it's true. It doesn't mean it's true. It just means I went to some biased source that I knew would agree with me, which is why I go for unbiased sources. But again, okay, my last time saying this, general population 4.6, lifetime is tempted. Trans people 40%. Holocaust survivor survived 24% had attempted suicide versus 45 of the 502 patients. Oh, well, okay, with no World War II experience. So 45% of people? Okay, so that's 45 of the 5. Okay, sorry, I can't talk. I can't think right now. Anyway, so what's the problem? How do you fix that? That is definitely some kind of mental instability. And I don't mean that as an insult. Again, ADD, ADHD, that's considered a mental disability or like some kind of, I think it's like a mental disability, some kind of, chemical imbalance in the brain, blah, blah, blah. It's not meant as an insult. It is a fact that there is something wrong with that. Not like major. Again, I can still function in the world. I can still do everything. I can still do all that. You wouldn't think it's this, by looking at it. You don't know someone has it by looking at it. The same thing. I can't tell someone has gender dysphoria or gender identity disorder, whatever it's called now. I can't tell just by looking at someone go down the street. Unless obviously it's like a dude in a dress. I'm like, oh, well, okay, that dude wants to be a woman. But other than that, I couldn't tell. So I don't mean it in a bad way. I'm saying there's probably something definitely wrong mentally or with the brain. I don't know. Just something. Again, that's not an insult. I don't mean it to be. But those numbers right there would definitely tell me something's wrong. And the reason I went to all the other suicide rates is just to be fair about it because it gives me a little something to say. This is the percent of these of the genders and so on. And just again, I went to one of your sources. I want to be fair. I really did. I didn't. I didn't want to just like blah. Even though it's a .org, I should have pointed that out too. Anyway, I'm gonna be uploading this pretty much right away. Um. So. Uh. Tell me what y'all think. You agree with me? Don't agree with me? All that. Let's see. I'm gonna end it here because I don't want to. It is his video I'm responding to. But anyway, that's my thought. It's therapy. Cross dress for a little bit to see if you can handle the looks and all that because it's not an overnight thing. More therapy, surgery, maybe more therapy. Because let's be honest, if you went all your childhood waiting 3 months, and I say 3 months total, just therapy, then the cross dressing, and then more therapy just to be safe. You can wait, or if you go into your whole life, you can wait 3 months. That's not, you know what I mean? That's not me saying they can't get surgery. That's not me saying they shouldn't get surgery. So simply saying, let's make sure mentally that person is safe because there is something definitely going on with that. And just like it talks about how, I don't know if it was this one. Oh, I didn't read it. I think I did it in my other video. And the other video about suicide where depression, anxiety are highest among women. And that's one of the leading causes to suicide. And this is one of the reasons why women attempt it more than men. We just succeed more because we choose more violent ways. But anyway, guys, tell me what you think. Whether you agree with me, you don't agree with me, all that. I really want to know. Uh, you know what I mean? Again, if you're not allowed to comment, please let me know because you should be able to. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Uh, yeah, I'm just gonna post this because again, it's a response video. Like I said, I'll do this when I feel. And I'm sorry for making this so long. I'll see you guys. Y'all take care.